Well, Anthony Albanese has defended making hard decisions as Prime Minister in a room full of business leaders as he pledged $3 billion in new money for Victorian infrastructure projects. The comments came as he headlined the Herald Sun Victorian Chamber Future Victoria event, which brought together political opponents. Our Victorian political reporter, Simon Love, is covering the event for us today. Simon, give us a bit more detail on those spending announcements unveiled by the Prime Minister.
Well, the most significant of them, Ash, is certainly around the Melbourne Airport Rail Link project. There is $2 billion of new Commonwealth funding that Anthony Albanese has announced. It comes on top of a $5 billion contribution from the Commonwealth already. And that has prompted the Victorian government to bring forward its allocation of funding, which they actually deferred in a recent state budget. So this project will likely sort of hit the ground running in Melbourne's western suburbs. Now, the money that the Commonwealth that is contributing, that was announced in this event, will really go to bolstering the Sunshine Station in Melbourne's west, and that's going to be a key part of this airport rail link that's expected to be up and operating in the early 2030s. It's certainly a future vision that's been spoken about a lot in Victoria, and no doubt the room full of business leaders and political leaders were certainly seeking some form of big commitment for Victoria out of the Prime Minister as he addressed this event. So here's some of the detail that the Prime Minister gave to the room about this funding announcement, specifically for airport rail. The Prime Minister also announcing $1.2 billion towards upgrading Melbourne and outer Melbourne suburban roads.
On top of this, we'll invest a further $2 billion to help transform Sunshine Station, and the Victorian Government will bring forward their funding to kickstart work. Building the extra platforms and a dedicated spur line that will make Sunshine Station to come under the SRL planning issues, so we get more housing and more activity around for it to be a real precinct, and we want it to get going as soon as possible.
This has been immediately welcomed by the Victorian State Government. The Premier, Jacinta Allen's actually holding a news conference with reporters behind me as we speak, and she's certainly taken questions specifically around when the State Government will bring forward its funding and get this project going. It certainly comes at a time when the Allen government's been trying to spruik its suburban rail loop project, and the Prime Minister today signalled in his speech that the money the Commonwealth's contributing means that the Commonwealth believes the suburban rail loop project, which at the moment's being built in Melbourne's east, he believes it will benefit Melbourne's west, where Labor's taken a fair bit of a kick. It's been quite the forum here where Brad Batten, the Victorian opposition leader, was probably only the senior Liberal in the room. Obviously, the federal coalition weren't here, given that this was essentially the Prime Minister's opportunity to address the room. But Jacinta Allen, who's still speaking behind me a short time ago, outlined exactly how the state government will now treat this airport rail link project.
What this does mean that we now have to go through a process of resetting the timeline for delivery of the overall project. But what this investment of the additional $2 billion, making a $4 billion investment in and around Sunshine, what this means is that we can get this part of the project moving.
In the question and answer portion of this event, which was moderated by the editor of the Herald Sun, Sam Weir, some questions specifically around some of the decisions that Anthony Albanese's made in this term of Parliament, particularly ahead of trying to at least get his thinking on an election date out to the room. I think, reading between the lines, and Anthony Albanese let slip to the room that he still hasn't decided on the date yet, even though no doubt the strategists have got dates in mind. But I found what was really profound and interesting was how Anthony Albanese defended putting a referendum to the Australian public, particularly around the voice. Take a listen.
And one of the things that I have done is not duck. I have done things that are hard. I'll tell you what the hardest thing I've done in government is to tell people in this room, I'm going to take tax cuts off you, that you are going to get $4,500, and I'm going to give it to people who weren't going to get anything. And that redistribution to lower middle income earners, I can't remember what the Herald Sun front page
Something
was
about
the
a broken
next day.
promise. Something about a broken promise?
Yeah, I don't think it was quite that. I think it was probably more vicious than that.
Never vicious.
And, well, it was. Every paper in the country was. Not just news. Every commentator said, well, that's it, you're done.
I think things were smoothed over when Prime Minister Albanese was presented with a bit of a gift from the Herald Sun cartoonist Mark Knight depicting Anthony Albanese as a Jack Ginnivan type Hawthorn fan, so that probably pleased a number of people in the room. Interesting rapid fire question segment too, where he was asked for one-word answers on a variety of different people, and this is him there.
Peter Dutton. One or two word answer.
Not going to win.
Daniel Andrews.
Friend.
The Greens.
Lost their way. Don't care about the environment. Don't vote for them.
Jacinta Allen.
Dear friend.
Jodie Hayden.
Lover.
And the election date is?
Good try.
The event continues. There's a number of industry panels taking place, and there's certainly been a lot of vision around the future of Victoria as a state, particularly ahead of that federal election soon and the state election in 2026. Ash?
Simon, appreciate the update live there from Melbourne. Thank you for that.